Hi folks, I'm Sarah. Welcome to my channel where I'm posting an art video every day throughout the month of October. Today is day 12 of the 2018 Inktober drawing challenge and the word prompt for today is whale. With my animal themed Inktober, it wasn't too hard to decide which animal to draw, but being that one of my personal aims is to get more confident with painting in backgrounds, I thought I would paint a bit more of a scenic picture today to include a bit more background and hence a bit more of a challenge. And I did discover a really easy and effective way of painting trees, so watch till the end of the video if you want to see what I did for that. But before I began painting, I decided on the colours I would use and swatched them out on an offcut of my watercolour paper. All the items I've used though will be linked in the description box below if you want to go and check those out. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel and hit the bell icon as well if you want to be alerted when I upload a new video. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to pop them in the box below, as I do read and answer all of them and I really love your feedback. So I began this painting by first going in with black ink to mark out the outline of the two whales, and then filled in with my favourite Escoda paintbrush and a small amount of water. Now I don't have many really nice paintbrushes, but I really do like this one, as despite being a size 8, it maintains a really fine point which is good for smaller and more detailed areas. Then I went back with my dip pen to mark in the darkest areas of the reflection, and then left this to dry while I began to work on the lighter areas in the foreground. So this painting did take me longer than I had expected, but I think that's because I'm still fairly new to painting landscapes, or seascapes in this case, but I still enjoyed the process. And I wanted to make sure that I left some white areas of the paper free of any ink and add contrast with some really dark areas moving away into the distance. So I decided to use the wet on dry method for the water in the foreground and built up with layers, working with a mixture of ultramarine violet and ultramarine blue to build up the colour and values that I wanted. For the water above the two whales, I decided to use a larger paintbrush loaded up with water and colour to fairly quickly lay down a dark wash, and then I added in more colour whilst it was still wet to get the depth of colour I needed. Now, although I wanted the water here to be really dark, I didn't want it black. I wanted to keep the whales as the main focus of the painting and have them as the only black part. So I worked in some really deep, dark concentrations of indigo to get the colour and value I was after. And once I'd done this, then I worked on the foreground again and tried to bring it all together, and this did take a bit of trial and error, adding different colours and layers until I was finally happy with how it looked. And whilst I was letting that all dry, then I did spend a bit of time working on the hills and the sky in the background, and for this part I did decide to add some sepia ink, and that was really useful to kind of put in a little bit of colour on the reflection, as well as kind of bring it all together and use some in the landscape behind the water. And then I went in and did another layer on that waterline there and kind of darkened it up because it dried a bit lighter. Now when it was time to come onto the trees and the hills in the background, I wanted to do some sort of loose background, but didn't really want to just go in and do trees on a white background. So I decided to kind of do this wet wash of different colours that I drop in just to give a base to what I'd planned on doing on top. So I just dropped in some really dark indigo colours. I also didn't want to use any greens and things because I like keeping my colour palette fairly simple. And so yeah, just dropped in some dark blue, indigo and that kind of thing, and then let that all kind of bleed together just to form a good base for what I had in mind to go on the top. And whilst that was drying, I then went in and added some more colours to the foreground of the water here, as you can see, and this was the most time consuming of the whole piece because I kept kind of changing my mind whether to go more purple or more blue, and didn't want it to be purpley blue. I didn't want there to be areas where there was both. I kind of wanted it to all be really uniform in colour and transition from the really dark colour above the whales. So I did struggle a little bit with this, and as I say, it did take quite a long time. So once all the water area was complete and I was fairly happy with it, I then went in with another layer of the indigo colour just to put in a bit more contrast before then using the fan brush. Now this was something that was a bit of a last minute thought, and something that I've not actually used before, but I have seen other people use it and I thought I'd give it a go, and I was really pleased with how quick and easy this method was. So just loading the fan brush up with some of the blue colour that I wanted and then using it on its side gave a really nice effect for trees that was simple but effective. So I had a lot of fun with this part, and I'll definitely be using this again as it was just so easy and quick. So this is something that's probably a lot of people have used before and is nothing new or exciting, but it was to me. So that was a really good way of doing the background. I then finished off just by adding some white splatters to look like the spray above the whales, and this picture was complete. So I hope you enjoyed the process and the video. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you all tomorrow.